Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm your host, Brett Davis, the Center Square's Washington State editor. Joining me today is reporter Spencer Pauley. Now, Spencer, you and I both reside in King County. I live in Federal Way, and you call Seattle home. I bring this up because you recently done some digging on money spent as part of the Health Through Housing initiative, which King County describes as, quote, an innovative approach that accelerates our region's response to chronic homelessness, end quote. So is this another Partnership for Zero situation? That's that public-private partnership that started in 2022 and kind of ended earlier this year, earlier than expected? Or did this latest Health Through Housing initiative, did it actually get something done? Did it achieve anything?
Well, I think if you want to compare the two initiatives, they both find shelter to be the fix to homelessness. And so what this project does is to open 1,600 units of affordable housing. And in 2022, the initiative spent $70.2 million to purchase apartment buildings, hotel buildings, renovate them, find operators of these facilities. And basically, they housed 803 people last year. Out of those 803 people, 348 of them received permanent housing in some sort of way, either through the program or another one.
What about the rest of them?
They are either still in these temporary housing or have just left.
Where does the money from this program come from? Is it a tax or something like that?
So yeah, that's one thing we should talk about here is while the county spent $70.2 million, the initiative generated $68.8 million in revenue, 67.9 of which stem from sales tax that the county implements towards this initiative.
It's like, I believe it's a 1/10 of a cent sales tax. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, that's what it is. So every time, we spend money at the grocery stores, whatnot, that sales tax goes over there.
I see there's a slight discrepancy between the money that comes in and the money that was spent. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So basically the county said this was expected. The 2022 report says that it's just the slightly higher expenditures are consistent with the approach in the initiative's implementation plan.
We talk about the 803 people that receive shelter. What percentage of the homeless population is that?
Well, if you look at the 2022 point in time count, which is what the county bases their statistics off of, that's about 6% of the 13,369 homeless people that were tallied in one day last year. Now, I think it should be noted that the point in time count, while it is mandatory for all jurisdictions to do, it is not very accurate. It is the closest thing we can get to it. But you got to think about like the homeless population. They are mobile. They move around.
Right.
So they can go in and out of, city limits, county limits at their own, discretion.
I see here in the story, you say the initiative's 2022 report found that the average per unit acquisition cost of Health Through Housing properties is $229,314. Is that a good deal, a bad deal? I have no idea.
That has to be considered for, cost per unit, just a purchase, in these circumstances could just be, which each acquisition can have like different site development processes, timing. But, when you think about cost per unit, I think everyone can find that $229,000 price tag to be pretty high. When considering that statistic, we're not counting one site, which is in Seattle's Capitol Hill district. Okay. That was omitted from the calculations because, the full acquisition was not incurred until 2023.
So that'll be part of next year's report, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if we're closer to that number. Now, the Health Through Housing initiative, the goal is 1,600 units. They originally wanted that to be done by the end of 2022. But it seems like the report's expecting, the completion of all the acquisitions to reach that number sometime next year.
Okay, so things are moving a little more slowly than they planned.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, some conclusions report found that, there's some challenges per se, including, negotiations to purchase these sites and, establishing the agreements with operators. And, another thing that they cite is, COVID. That always caused some challenges with government, I think. We're finding more and more. And, the Health Through Housing initiative was no exception.
This is going to be an ongoing challenge for the county, so we look forward to your continued reporting on this. Thanks so much, Spencer. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Spencer Pauley, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe, and thanks for listening.